welcome to you all in this second half of the fourth day of virtual conference of Nelta Province 7. I would like to welcome all, and I would also like to welcome our panelists of this session. Today's session is all about the reading pedagogy. It is a special topic because the reading culture is not so much dominant all around. Maximum, and we feel that the people either they focus on the textbook reading, or they feel that reading just mean textbook, or they also feel reading means just getting the ideas in these jobs. So the value of reading can be quite well depicted through this panel discussion, and we are very obliged to our Professor Govind Bhattrai, my guru also, who taught me in the year 2070 to 2007 to 9 in the Central Department of English Education in Tribhuvan University. Let me introduce Professor Govind Bhattrai. He is a novelist, essayist, literary critic, linguist, and translation consultant. Though Professor of English by profession, Bhattrai loves and enjoys creative writing more than anything else. His contribution in reshaping and reforming Nepalese literature is well acknowledged. A postmodernist and diaphorist, Bhattrai has widely published on various socio-cultural, educational, and literary issues. Bhattrai's career as a creative writer began when he was in early 20s with his first work, Mughlan, in 1975. His fiction include Manipur Ko Chitti, Letter from Manipur, Sukrat Ko Paila, Socrates' Footsteps, Sukrat Ko Diary, Socrates' Diary, whereas works on criticism comprise Kabbik Andolan Ko Parichaya, Introduction to Poetic Revolution, Akhyan Ko Uttar Adhunik Paryavalokan, postmodern study on fiction, Passimi Palesika Bachita, Drops of Western Apes, Uttaradhanik Aina, Postmodern Mirror, Uttaradhanik Vimarsa, Postmodern Discourse, and Samaya Bodra Uttaradharikta, Time Consciousness and Postmodernism. Bhattrai had a literary pilgrimage from Mechi to Mahakali in Nepal and several countries of countries of Asia, Europe, Africa, and America. His voyages have given birth to several anthologies of essays and travelogues like Ekle, 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 Alone, Alone, and Alone, Vishwavidyalaya Agrim Puja, Fire Worship in University, Sangai Baso Yura, Let Us Live Together in This Night, Godoli Das Paila, 10 Steps in Twilight, and recently Meri Mirima Das Paila, 10 Steps in Dawn. The first Nepalese scholar to accomplish PhD in translation studies, Bhattrai has translated several works from English to Nepali and vice versa. His major translations include selected stories from Nepal, selected Nepali essays, stories of conflict and war, Declaration of New Guardian, Gandhi, and Great Minds of India. Bhattrai has also edited a number of academic and literary journals. So I would like to welcome Professor Bhattrai in this forum. Welcome to you, sir. Likewise, we have another panelist, one of the voracious readers, source of inspiration for young generation as well, Mr. Bal Ram Adhikari. Mr. Bal Ram Adhikari is a lecturer of English at Tribhuvan University, Nepal. Mr. Adhikari has translated dozens of literary and academic works between English and Nepali, including novels, Socrates' Step, and Grammar of Contemporary Nepali. To his credit, he has published some books in translation studies and ELT, including Anubad Siddhanta Praprayog, Translation Theory and Practice, funded by Nepal Academy, Nepali Anubad Sahitya Ko Itihas, History of Nepali Literary Translation, and literature for language development, history, pedagogy, and criticism. Mr. Adhikari is the recipient of Khemlal Lamichhane Memorial Prize 2016 and the Kalasri Creative Prize of 2018 and Nepali Talent Award England 2018 for his contribution to Nepali literature and translation. He has also contributed to SARC Cultural Center, Colombo, in his capacity as country editor 2012 to 2013, Journal of Nelta as editor from 2015 to 2016, the Translation Journal Nepalese Translation as a chief editor in 2018 to 2019, and Dictionary of Translation Journal, Dictionary of Translators in Nepal as editor. At present, he is a PhD scholar in literary translation at the Tribhuvan University. Welcome to you, Mr. Bal Ram Adhikari, sir. Likewise, we have a third panelist who is joining us from the USA, who has been doing the PhD there. Let me introduce him. He is Jagadish Poudel, well-known name. Jagadish Poudel, originally from Nepal, is currently pursuing his PhD in rhetoric and writing studies at University of Texas at El Paso. He has completed his MA and MA in English from Tribhuvan University, Nepal. Having worked in the field of ELT for more than a decade, he has presented his research in national and international conferences. His areas of interest include social justice, pedagogy in teaching writing, Hindu rhetoric, and digital cultural rhetoric. Welcome to you, Mr. Jagadish Poudel. Now we're going to start our session of today, and this session, let me begin with. So my first question will go to Professor Bhattrai. Sir, maybe I think a decade ago you started your this reading concept, the reading courses you started preparing. I think when the professor Jera Joshi was there at Tribhuvan University. So I remember, I know a little bit about it. When Professor Awasthi and you were there in Tribhuvan University, you started designing this course. So, what is the reason? What motivates you two people to design this course? What is the reason behind it? What were the objectives? With this salute to Professor Awasthi, I would like to ask you this question. Over to you, sir.
Teaching in Nepal, there is words to him. And secondly, it was under Jaira Sir's leadership that we all made a team since 2061-62 and work hard towards the renovation, towards revamping the old courses in English, which consisted only structural teaching, structural learning only. And we had a belief that unless you have a good reading material, supportive reading material, creative reading material, no other things will help improve students' life, career, imagination, and everything, and power. Therefore, it was a total overhauling from B.Ed first year to M.Ed. Altogether, we redesigned, reshaped 7 books. And in that design, one of the designer I could see today is our Bal Ram Adhikari as well. He also was in that team. So we were sometimes a team of 10, sometimes 8, sometimes 9. But unfortunately, by those days, we had missed our forefather, Shishir Kumar sir, and under Jaira sir we did. And it is now 15 years that A kind of revolution has been introduced by designing, by writing, by looking at the trends of the world, those new things compiling into very standard books. So it was a departure. We wanted to show our students and teachers and syllabus designers a new world. It is in harmony with other literatures, other worlds, other universities as well. That's all.
Thank you, sir. Now I'll go with the a bit different question to Mr. Bal Ram Adhikari, sir. So you were in the team of course designing, sir. So before that, let me just, how do you take the course reading culture in the context of Nepal right now? Can you please share?
Okay, DNG, thank you for this question. Before this, I'd like to express my sincere, gratitude towards the, you know, subject committee team of that time, and particularly Professor Jairaj Awasthi and Bhattrai sir, under my guru, under whom I got an opportunity to work in these courses. DNG, before I talk about something about this reading culture in Nepal, because it might be a big, uh, big broad question. Actually, I'd like to add something on what Bhattrai sir has just said. Actually, what happened, till 2010 or to that, 2062 or something like that, 10 years ago, before, as Bhattrai sir indicated, our courses were mainly focused on language as system. This is what Bhattrai sir always, with, he had some reservation from the very beginning. He always said that we should go beyond language as system, and then address it language as art and expression. And that was the guiding philosophy behind, because I was very close with him, and I worked under his scholarship, and this is what actually motivated, I guess, Dr. Bhattrai to go for reading based courses. And this is what he also said 2 years back in Nelta's conference as well. Talking about present scenario, it's very difficult to say which generation we are talking about. If we say these days children don't read or students don't read, I can see they are reading more than we used to do in the past, because they have more books to read than we did, and they have more means to explore the text than we had. But again, the thing depends what type of text our school system and university system are, for grounding. That is main concern. Mainly, we are again focusing on teaching English, the English language as a system, and mainly we are focusing on the information-based text. When you look at this IELTS text, this TOEFL text, and the academic to our student, they are mainly focusing on information. Information is important, but again, what happens if we give too much importance on information, our students, there will be no difference between commerce students and language students, because we have to incorporate information, no doubt, but again we have to relate that information to their feeling, their emotion, and their imagination. This is what Bhattrai earlier said, that we need to relate information to expression, and this is what I find weak at present. And but I don't say that students of this time don't read much. They are reading, but again we need to relate their reading to expression, to imagination, to creativity. Then only we can bring about our change in their perception, and more importantly, we can make their reading more productive. I think this one's for now.
Okay, thank you, sir. So I'll go with the Jagdish sir. Jagdish sir, first of all, I would like to salute you as well, because you have taught the reading courses prepared my prepared nearly for 4 to 5 years, and you are only one in Nepal who taught these reading courses extensively much. Possibly you more engaged in this area, reading, teaching reading courses and the job. So, can you please share your experience of teaching reading courses?
Okay, sure. The answer first of all, I would like to say namaste to my gurus, Zara sir and Govind Bhattrai sir, and all the participants, my friends. I'm very happy to be a panelist in this, panel. Uh, Regarding my experience, I would like to start from my reading experience. When I joined at intermediate level, I was exposed with the course like language and structure is Bal Ram sir already, highlighted this. Over the years, for 7 years, I studied sound and structures, grammar, methods. I recited a lot. That helped me to understand pedagogy, but that didn't help me to understand, life. That didn't help me to understand world. That didn't help me to understand our society. That didn't help me to bring society knowledge in the class. So I felt something lacking in my education. So I decided to join MA Literature. So I did MA Literature. I did my self-study. But, that helped me to open my eyes a little bit. After doing MA, I started to teach reading course. As you said, I taught, expanding horizon in English. That course helped me a lot to expand my ideas. That course helped me a lot to understand world. And that helped me to bring some our local knowledge in classroom. For example, there is a chapter, there is a topic, myth. In BA's second year, you might have taught this course, right? Myth. When we are teaching myth, if we ask our student just to reproduce what is given, that is Norwegian myth, that's not, our level of teaching, higher level of readings. So I would present, some local myth in my class, thinking that that makes sense to student. Just reproducing is not, teaching. Is Bal Ram sir already talked about relating and reflecting. So it is better to ask them to reflect and relate to their life, to their society. That's the knowledge. So another course I taught, reading course, miscellany course. And there are lots of interesting, text. And that text we can relate to our society. For example, education, there is a chapter on education. And if we ask just them to, reproduce what is education, right? What is presented there, that is not teaching for me. I would relate, I would ask my students to, narrate or to bring our past education practice. For example, Gurukul. I ask my students to write about Gurukul systems. Let's bring our educational practices. That is important for us. And there is a topic on marriage. So that was not about marriage practices of Nepal. It was, I think, a poem. So I asked my students to write marriage practices in your community. So my students, wrote an essay on marriage practices. So they brought, you know, different marriage practices of Nepal, different caste marriage practices from far western part to far eastern part of Nepal. I had created, Facebook wall where I would post the questions for them and they would, write their, marriage practices. They would also, post pictures, videos over there. It was quite interesting. Similarly, there is a topic, village in Samoa. Samoa village lies in US. If we ask our students just to reproduce about Samoa village, that's not teaching. I asked them, to describe your own village. I asked them to examine the women condition of your village. What is their daily activity? How they pass their life? So I asked them to compare and contrast. I asked them to relate, to their life. So I did like that, my teaching, reading teaching. This much for now.
Thank you.
BNG.
Thank you so much, Jagdish sir. Now I'll go to Professor Bhattrai. Sir, what is the underlying philosophy? What is the underlying philosophy behind these reading courses? Can you please say?
That's great. Why? All our team were convinced, and I was very highly convinced because I had been practicing this thing for the past 15, 20, or 30 years in those days. So, reading, I remember a quote, an expression by Rene Descartes. Rene Descartes is the father of modern philosophy, French philosopher. He has said, the reading of all good books is like a conversation with the finest minds of the past centuries. So, where do you get those dead people with great minds? In those books only. So, reading is most essential. And also, the great thinker Joseph Edison, American, he said, reading is to the mind what exercise is to the body. So, your mind will not be developed, will not be furnished and flourished, updated or widened unless you have reading. But reading is a kind of selective work. Long way back, 500 years ago, 600, Sir Francis Bacon left has spoken already in an epigrammatic form. Reading makes a man perfect, also woman. Reading makes human beings perfect. So without reading, we cannot perfect our students. We cannot perfect our teachers as well. This philosophy worked to motivate us. And once more, but reading is a selective work, the best writing, the best books, not the ordinary textbooks only, not the grammar books only, not the dictionaries and other kinds of rote learning books. For pleasure, for emotion, for kinds of fantasy, for arousing a kind of pleasure and leaving them, taking them to a different world, imaginative world, kind of. So Roald Dahl, one of the greatest writers of the 20th century, I visited his residence in London last year. A most widely read scholar, children's writer Roald Dahl, he has said, so please, oh please, we beg, we pray, go, throw your TV set away, and in its place, you can install a lovely bookshelf on the wall. So, bookshelf for every house, for every parents, one bookshelf. Those mechanical gadgets no longer needed. We need bookshelves. No magazines, no newspapers, no other tools, just books, great books, lasting books, books of great values. And by the way, I'll tell you later on about the techniques also. But books, selection of books and reading of books is the first and foremost priority for us. Our team was convinced and we selected best of reading passages we could imagine and diverse passages written by men and women, written by Nepalese scholars and Indians and Malaysian, Japanese, third world people and native writers of English and all variety of different kinds of writing, different minds, different cultures. As Jagadish spoke before, we introduced in the courses and that attracted our readers also. That gave some information about the variegated world in lucid language, in clear language, in very stylistic or say simple and wonderful language. That is the reason behind our selection. Thank you, bhai.
Thank you, sir. Now I'll go to Balram Adhikari, sir. Balram, sir, there are lots of problems in actualizing the reading courses as there's a gap between expectation and reality. How do you actualize it? What do you think about it?
Uh, DNG, earlier my friend Jagadish, he also indicated about, indicated the pedagogy that he used in the classroom that might be very useful for us too. In my case, I taught masses reading courses for 2 years. What I found was in the classroom, first of all, we have to realize the fact that our students are not from so strong reading culture. We have to admit here when we say students, even teachers should be included within that category. We don't have. That's why in the beginning, Jagdishji often used to share with me that teachers and students both were overwhelmed by by the number of the text and the length of the text and its length and the culture and content all, and some of the teachers job were at stake, and they were on the verge of losing their job because they were not able to deal with the courses. And the reason was that first we have to change. The first problem that I faced in the classroom was there is sort of blame game between teachers and students. Teachers often complain that students don't read and they are busy with their gadgets or something like that. And students say that teachers don't teach the way they want. It means students expect ready-made notes, and teachers expect students to read and present their ideas in the classroom, and there lies a gap. One next gap is these courses, the university level reading courses, expect the teachers to go beyond the intensive class-based reading towards extensive reading. Now, the problem is how to integrate classroom intensive reading that we practice for 45 to 50 minutes to out of the classroom extensive reading. How to integrate, how to make the transition from classroom to outside. Second, third, I find the problem with the what we say pedagogy itself. Mostly our reading pedagogy is explanatory rather than exploratory. This is very sort of the thing that it happens every day. For example, teacher comes to the classroom, prepares the note, and comes to the classroom, explains the points, gives the notes to the students. Then when all the teachers give the notes and points to the student, then what is the need for the student to read or go through the text? And this skill, and if teacher doesn't do that, and the student face the problem in the examination, then what I find is we have to this dismantle the conventional notion of this intensive and extensive reading. Actually, there is no clear demarcation between that. Intensive reading, that might be for small specific time, and that might be for specific information. But again, this intensive reading should be part of extensive reading, and extensive reading should be part of the intensive reading. They should go together. And next thing, what I found with these courses is that one, we have the tendency of treating text as the end rather than means towards the end. As Jagdish was indicating earlier, when he was teaching this Norwegian myth from Sophie's world, he was not treating that text given in the book at the end. Treating text at the end means having a student read the text and having engaging them in some comprehension checking exercises, checking their answer, and the task is over. This is not the underlying. This is not the main spirit of these reading courses. We need to focus how to that use that text to look beyond the classroom I'll give you one example. What I did was, while teaching, I'm at first year, while teaching this Equal Rights of Women by Shirley Chisholm. First, in the classroom, we did the classroom reading. We did some classroom activities. Then I asked a student to read about Chisholm in the internet. Go to the Google, read her biography, and add at least 20 sentences to the given text. Add something from that. And third phase, read any biography you find in the book form and bring that in the form of summary or something of presentation in the classroom. It means classroom is connected to the internet, and internet reading is connected to their let's say room reading or out of the classroom reading. As a result, what happens, there is a smooth transition from textbook to internet, internet to other book size reading sources. And next thing, the last one, we have to change something. We have to bring about some change in the examination system as well. In the examination, students are asked such questions which they can answer by memorizing the information from the book. If so, obviously there is summary, some notes, prepare for that, and go to the exam hall and write. That might kill, that might mar their motivation for reading extensively. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Now, I will just go to the Jagdish sir. Jagdish sir, you were the eyewitness of this course, and you have a kind of lived experiences of teaching reading courses. Earlier, as Balram sir said, there's a gap between the even the students and teachers as well. Teachers blame students for their mistakes, and students blame teachers as they feel that the teachers have not given them well reading courses. These are so. What is your experience on this teacher and student gap in case of reading courses, teaching reading courses?
Yeah, I see, gap between the two, that's true because we don't have no reading culture, if not all. We usually go reading, guide, you know, even sometimes guess paper, right? Even teacher, I found. And students expect ready-made capsule from teacher, as Balram sir already spoke about it, right? And they want to get ready-made something, and they want to just reproduce in examination, right? That's our culture. Because of that, so we see problems in readings, you know. So, but not all. Some students are really, you know, interested in reading, and they went through the text thoroughly. They came off, when I was there with critical ideas. But most of the students would just want to get ready-made capsule from teacher. And teacher would also, you know, take some notes from guides, right? My experience, I found somewhere. So that's the, practice we are doing. Because of that, we could not improve, in reading, teaching. But what we can do is that, there are some, commonalities. There is no golden method for teaching readings, but still we can, embrace some ideas. For example, what we can do is that we can engage students in classroom also. For example, if you are teaching for an hour, you can allocate 20 minutes for reading in the classroom. You can make group, you can form group and give group work. Ask them to read some paragraphs and come up with ideas. Ask them to present in the classroom, right? So this way you can also engage students in reading in classroom also. And also you can ask them to, find some reoccurring words, in the text, and some examples and some sentences, some images that, help them to grasp the idea, to know about the text. Similarly, as Balram sir already spoke about it, we can ask them to go through, historical context when it was created, who created it, who composed it. By this, you know, student help that helps them to know about the text, historicity of the text, sociocultural context of the text, because text cannot, go beyond the society. So that help them to understand text or reading, you know, materials. And also what we can do, that don't expect they will understand every tidbits of the text, right? We do not expect this. Nobody can understand every tidbits of the text if that is written in far distant world, if the texts are about another corner of the world. So just we can ask them, what is the striking point for you, right? How can you relate the point to your life, to your society, to your educational practices? We can ask them. So this way we can go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. Now
Okay.
I'll go to, thank you, sir, and I'll go to Professor Bhattrai, sir. Sir, I have a question. The reading, the people now, the reading culture is not so dominant. I feel it like this. So, what do you suggest to the readers nowadays that the reading culture is not so widespread and not so well practiced? Superficial reading seems more among the students as well. So what do you suggest to those readers, youngsters, so that they could expand the horizon of their knowledge?
Very good question, Bhai. Actually, I am also sometimes worried about this question, looking at the nature of our students and teachers who don't know the real value of reading as such. But the civilized nations and cultured people, they necessarily possess a small or big one library at home. And reading becomes most essential, most important thing. In the beginning, while one starts reading, it is like digging a mine. In the beginning, one does not enter into the mine. It takes many years of digging to reach the treasure. In the same way, reading also is like that. When a reader goes from one book to another, from one book to another, and third and fourth and fifth, gradually he or she goes deeper and deeper, then he becomes much more obsessed with reading. And then we are safe, he or she is safe. But it needs a kind of society also, our parents also, and our teachers also. Just textbook, and we are happy with that. For example, the Western people, they say, Afra Ben, everybody knows her, she says that perfect tranquility of life, great peace of life, which is nowhere to be found in retreat, loneliness, a faithful friend. Reading is a faithful friend and a good library. Only in these two places, either in a good library or in retreat, reading only, you get the essence of life, depth of life. But to reach that state, you take bit of time, and our society is not that developed. People are not that kind of furnished. And Rania, for example, Rainer Maria Milke, a great German writer and scholar of the world, ah, how good it is to be among people who are reading. So reading people are appreciated there. Therefore, they read, the Western people, otherwise even the Eastern people also, they read. Here they read and there they read and everywhere they read. For example, David Levithan says, luckily I always travel with a book just in case I have to wait online for Santa or some such inconveniences. So they read all the time. Let us remember Einstein. Einstein has four books. focused, such a great scientist of the world, he has focused nothing but reading only. Somebody who only reads newspapers and at the best books of contemporary authors looks to me like an extremely nearsighted person. आँखा कमजोर भएको मान्छे. If you read newspaper and are happy, if you call newspaper reading, magazine reading, then you are short-sighted. Who scorns eyeglasses? See, he is completely dependent on the prejudices and the fashion of his time. So we need great books, standard books, since he never gets to see or hear anything else. So reading or seeing far away means reading greater books, and that patience the students we have to cultivate gradually. Gradually, children are made readers on the laps of their parents. Our parents do not have libraries, not bookshelves. These are limited to the backs of their children or the students. So you need to start a small library, small shelf of books, 5 or 10 or 15 or 100 or 200 or 500. And gradually, they should be encouraged to read those books only. Because reading brings us unknown friends, they should realize. So it is the matter of interest. By giving such books as interest the reader, by encouraging them to read such books as encourage them. This is Balzac's expression, great French writer. Reading brings us unknown friends. When our students also meet such great friends of the world, they will forget other things and go to books only. David Thoreau has said, read the best books first. Read the best books first, or you may not have a chance to read them at all. When you grow older, when you get married, when you join a job, and when you start earning money, and you will follow the devil, and you will run up to the deathbed, without looking at the great books of the great world. So therefore, forget the devils and read books, because the greatest French writer, Victor Hugo, has said, to learn to read is to light a fire. We should convince our parents, convince our teachers. There is a fault with teachers also. They don't know the value of reading. In the beginning, they may not understand. They may not get the juice. The fruit is not ripe. When the fruit gets ripen, and when you get the smell, sweet smell of it, and we taste of it, then they will not forget. To learn to read is to light a fire. Every syllable that is spelled out is a spark. See, with this belief, with this great honor, with the great value on reading, one should start. It is not a mechanical work. It doesn't pay in the beginning. To satisfy one's soul and heart, one should read and convince our learners to read. I would like to quote Napoleon Bonaparte before I stop in this discussion. Not in the whole, in the series. Show me a family of readers. Show me a family of readers, and I will show you the people who move the world. If you are a great writer, great thinker, great politician, then you can move the world. But you have to read. By reading only, those things are furnished or made perfect. Even Napoleon Bonaparte said so. So in Nepal also you can find, if you find any thinker, any scholar, any successful man, not like the politicians of the present time, they are good readers and great readers. We have to show the far shining stars to our students, first of all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So I have another question. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, please. So I have a question to Bal Ram Adhikari, sir. As you
Thanks.
said earlier also, I too have felt that many students lack reading background. Teachers say students do not read, and students say teachers do not provide the clear methodological outlines or framework for their students. How do you evaluate this blame, and how can you overcome it?
DNG, first of all, I think we have to change our perception of what a reading text is. Mainly, what I've felt is we read for information or sometimes for some specific language um, expressions, and then we keep that text aside. But what I think is a text, reading text, particularly literary text, or the type of text that Bhattrai sir is talking about, it is a multifaceted entity. For example, let me relate my own experience. When I read stories, novels, like great writings, I read for information. At the time, this is the second habit I learned from Bhattrai sir. I ruthlessly underline and contemplate on those expressions that I think might be useful for my future reference. And sometimes, my book bleeds to death because of red underlining. Then I also read this book for imagination. To what extent I can use these ideas to my own context, as Jagadish was indicating earlier. Means I here means this is how I instruct my student. I means not this person but the reader here. And then I also think what are the educational values, philosophical values, ethical values from that I get from these books. And entertainment is always there, unless there is pleasure, though it is painful. Unless there is pleasure, reading cannot sustain, you cannot sustain that reading. And the next thing what I focus on it, I try to write every time. Whenever I finish first chapter, I reflect on that and I write at least 10 to 20, at least 10 sentences. I must say more than 10 sentences at the end of the reading of that day, so that I'm not only reading but also writing. It means I'm engaged in the active reading. This is what I always try to do in my classroom, and I'm speaking as a teacher as well here. It means our reading should not be the passive recipient of passive process of receiving the information. At the same time, we should tell our instruct or help our student to understand how they can be a writer, though that writing form is rudimentary, preliminary, how they can be a writer while reading. What happens at the time is, when students see they are also producing something after reading a particular text, they have a sort of sense of achievement, and there is sort of pleasure, and there is psychological secure that yes, I can also write something when I read others. Then I'm not only the consumer of the knowledge but also the producer, though they may not articulate thing like that, but they have that feeling. And in at Tahachal, I have 3 or 4 students who are still, not completed their masters that semester at in the last semester. Now they have started writing their own poems, their own academic pieces, and then they have started creative writing, and most importantly, they have started translating. And we should tell our students that the more we read, the more power we can get, because we have we have accepted the fact that Sabda Brahma is the reality. Churchill became Churchill. He has admitted every now and then that I got this recognition not only because of my political knowledge, but mainly because of my control over language. We all have realized that. And uh, you know, we should tell our students that how we can appropriate, how can we exploit the same text for multiple purposes. Then only they can see the value of reading. Otherwise, they read one and then keep it aside, and they feel that no, I have read that many books, that many articles, but my language is not improved yet. then what should I do? No, that is wrong way. We need to integrate. And next thing I should not forget, because uh, if I forget this, I may not be doing justice to my own field or profession. This should be told, there should be help to convert the text into another languages. So there is a deep processing while reading in English. If not the whole text, why can't we engage them in writing that very portion in Nepali? And when they read in Nepali, why don't we encourage them to write that in English? So that there is not the question of translating and then GT method. It is a question of engaging student in the deep processes of language. And this is what Bhattrai sir always says: experiencing the language. Otherwise, what happens? We are always lecturing the people. We are always lecturing the hungry people on rice without giving them chance to eat rice. This is what we have been doing. Our phonetics, phonology says, these teachers development courses, they all talk about language. That's good. We need that, no doubt, because unless we have this theoretical backup, we are not going to be a conscious teacher. But again, unless what we do not equip student with what, only how knowledge might not make them a good teacher. And last one, this is this is a sort of personal experience. Asking student to write at least 10 sentences every day before they go to bed, every day, and bringing 5 words to the classroom and presenting the their reading or their words in the classroom. And if possible, I still remember Professor Jairaj sir, one particularly in when he started before his starting class, he used to talk about at least 5 6 books. These are the books, you know 5 days one book, 2 days this book, this is what I read. And he used to uh, relate his experience, how he bought books from England, the money that he saved from you know from fooding, from lodging food. It means this, the teacher should also recount their experience, how they are struggling. And next thing, last thing, the teacher should not shy away from telling the fact that they are also learners and they are also strugglers, and they are not the perfect. And they should tell, look, today I learned 5 words, and can you if you want, I can share with you. And we all are in the same boat. The only difference between you and me is that I happen to be born some years earlier than you. That's why I'm here. This is there is a share that after some years you will be in the position I'm standing here. This is the reality. But what happened, teacher creates such a fear in the classroom that English is I'm the only person who has become perfect, and then it will take so many years you will to reach the place where I am, and students get discouraged. And only sharing, caring, and daring might help them to uh, you know um, uh, what we say that embark on this textual journey. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so I will go with the Jagdish sir, and later on after this, we'll open the floor for the audience as well. I know they will have a lot of questions there. So, Jagdish sir, as you taught these all courses and you just shared the experiences about teaching reading courses. Now, I will just ask you questions, two questions in one. Why do you think it is important for the students to read? And how was the response from the students when you started teaching these reading courses to your students?
You're asking about benefit, you all know about the benefit of readings. It helps the students to get a job, obviously. It is directly correlated in their career or their life. And further, as Bhattrai already, spoke about it, it develops students' brain, right? And it is food for thought. If you have, you know, readings, if you read lots of reading, wide range of reading, different kinds of readings, then you'll be very good at argument. You can argue your point whenever or wherever you are, right? You will be very good at arguing. So the lots of benefit of reading, I shouldn't tell this much. And students' response, you are talking about students' response because of their habit, most of the students don't have habit of reading, as I already indicated, right? They just wanted to have ready-made food, you know, that's why they frequently complain if somebody, doesn't give note, to them, then they complain, they grumble, you know. So this is the response I would get from students. So the, I see, not on the, I see fault not on their part. I see fault on our pedagogy. Because of that, such kinds of, problems we usually face. Yeah. And then I would like to talk a little bit about, pedagogy still, some tips. For example, we can ask our students after reading, especially after readings, we can ask them to react to readings. I agree or disagree with the text, right? We can ask them to some questions. Why do you agree? And why do you disagree with the text ideas? And then what is new for you? You can ask to students. Similarly, while reading, you can ask them to, do code. For example, Balam sir was talking about this. You can ask them to tick if they agree. You can ask them to put, cross if they disagree or contradict the ideas. You can ask them to put, question mark if they are puzzled so that later they can discuss with friends, with teacher. And you can ask them to put, star mark if something strike them. So this way we can ask them. Also, there are number of ways we can engage our students. We can ask them, to explore the purpose of the text or audience of the text or genre of the text. Like that, we can ask them to explore, logos, pathos, ethos in the readings, right? That helps them to explore the text further. Okay, thank you, DNC. This much for now.
Thank you, sir. Now, the final question to all our respected, valued panelists. I will start with Professor Bhattrai. The question is, sir, what type of books do you recommend to read the readers? And we say that reading is for English improvement. But we seem to experience the text less. What is your view on it? Two questions together.
Now, let us forget all the problem sides, negative sides, and we take for granted that we are prepared, we are ready to read and make our students read. And we are convinced to establish gradually a reading culture in our society. If the teacher does not help, nobody will visit their villages or houses and convince the parents to buy the books and make a small sell or supply the books. So there are two things. One is desire. Desire to read is very essential. The teacher should show them, convince them by showing the books or by making them read books, even if they don't understand, let it be for the time being. They will join the race gradually. Some fast runners will go ahead. One thing. Secondly, there is technique. In technique also there are different books and different ideas. Let us follow the technique idea also. Some experts say good books only. There are start 15 minutes a day, 300 words per minute, and million and a half words in 1 year, 20 books altogether. This is rough calculation if one spends 50 minutes a day only. So how you afford to buy books, how to manage, how to provide, how to teach, it's a different thing. But there should be desire and technique. And I remember one quotation and would like to recite now. Jorge V. Borges most famous South American, Latin American scholar, writer, thinker, I have always imagined that paradise will be a kind of library. So he has imagined library and paradise are same. You have to create this slogan right at your school doors and give students or children to write this and put in their home also, in their bed also, and convince them once more at least. I'd like to tell you that the textbooks are not primary. These are secondary. Primary thing is the books, luring books, interesting books that lie outside. And we'll add one more point as Balaram says, reading and writing should go together. But we do not tax heavily in the beginning. We don't make things taxing in the beginning. Just luring, inspiring, encouraging, gradually lead them into the darker world of mind. Slowly it will illuminate and they will see a different world and they will get lost in the long run. They will find treasures and jewels in the long run. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. And now I'll go to Balram, sir. It is my final question to you. You know, the reading can develop the sense and sensibility both. What is the difference between sense and sensibility, and how reading can develop it, foster it?
Okay, thank you. Sir. Actually, this is what I every day feel that when you read, I'm reading Bhattrai sir's gift, second time search warrant. It's my second time reading. Why? Now that I can relate, I will relate it to this book reading. Denji, first, when you say sensitivity, reading activates sensitivity means sense activity. Means once you read, this is the difference between reading informative text and expressive text. When we read in expressive text, literary text, then we can sense, we can visualize, we can even smell. Yeah, means all the senses are activated, and this actually addresses the contemporary multi-mode, multi-sensory approach to teaching language or other subject as well. Means when I read, I can feel it in my, I feel it in my skin actually. Sometimes we weep, sometimes we laugh. No, being in solitude and we are laughing means you are interacting with the book. It means we are interacting with the book the way we are interacting with the person. And when we are interacting with the person, all these senses are activated. This is what I feel. Reading sensitivity means activating all the senses through words. One. And sensibility means ability to make the senses, or ability to make sense here. Sense means meaning through words. There is it is always based on the transparency principle, that there is a particular or specific information. You read that, you find that, and then you are satisfied with it. But with the the text with the aesthetic values, you find so many layers of meanings. As a result, what happens is your ability to make sense activates. It becomes active, and it becomes stronger and stronger every day. As a result, student can generate so many meanings from the single linguistic stimuli, or the stimulus, or single expression. It means exposing students to, or readers to, the highly aesthetic text means engaging them in sensibility and sensibility at the same time. This is what I have understood about these two words.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Now, final question to Jagdish sir, and then I will just move to the participants' questions. The question is, Jagdish sir, now you have made a history also in course of teaching reading courses. Younger scholar who has been doing PhD in USA and had taught reading courses, extensive reading courses more. So, what is your suggestions to the youngsters for reading extensively?
Uh, I think Bhattrai sir and Bal Ram sir already spoke about it. So just my suggestion is, ask your students to read text, make them to read, and also ask them to write. When they read, ask them to write, ask them to reflect, ask them to relate to their life. And that fosters, creativity. Balram sir was talking about, translation, assignment. That is practicing here, right? I also practice this here, for multilingual learners, first year composition learners, we assign assignment, translation assignment. That's a wonderful assignment. Translation is not just, mechanical process, but it is, it makes people creative. So this way we can go ahead. We can encourage the student to read and ask them to write. That way we can go ahead. But it takes times. So we don't have reading culture. So, but those people who are really interested in reading, those students who are really interested in reading, they can do a lot. But we should create such environment. That's our job. Yeah. Thank you, DNG.
Okay, thank you. Now the floor is open for the participants here.
All right. Thank you, Dian sir, and namaste to all gurus here. I will take 1 minute plus time, please. Okay, don't cut me out. It's my request. Here in this virtual space, we are blessed to have great scholars like you who have designed courses at different levels and great individuals, in fact, known for reading and writing. And we are always happy to reiterate that reading should be for exploration, imagination, and expression for students and teachers. Fantastic. There is an absolute agreement, no disagreement. Now my question is, our evaluation system means, but the evaluation system of even reading courses, and for your kind information, I teach reading courses at the master's level at Sukuna Multiple Campus. Even the reading courses, to a large extent, still focuses hugely on explanation and memorization of information. Now, my worry is, if you could revamp, redesign reading courses, could take a departure in incorporating wide range of reading, why didn't you fight for deconstructing our examination system so that teachers and students would not only enjoy reading, but also employ their critical and creative insight, their inputs into their examination system? At least for, sir, my humble query is, at least for the reading courses, why didn't you fight for redesigning the evaluation system for the reading courses? Suppose we have a text, diaspora. We ask questions, what is diaspora, what are the 4 phases of diaspora? Fine, there is nothing wrong in asking such questions, but why don't we give a paragraph and ask a student to explore diasporic elements in that paragraph? If we talk about, exploration and these all. So that is where I think we need to focus more on it. And our history, if you ask, we make wholesale kind of generalization. We don't have a reading culture and so on. If you ask me, I didn't have a speaking culture. I didn't have, listening culture. If I had anything as a language learner, I had reading culture. I read, and whatever English that I'm using to make an argument with such great scholars in this screen is because of my reading. So let us not go with a wholesale kind of generalization. If we really fight for a genuine reading course, and if we really look for, having great, reading teachers and students in future, why not fight for our evaluation system? My question is specifically for those who have written a lot, read a lot, and are great examples to many across the country. Thank you.
Okay, I think this question first Professor Bhattrai will answer and then others.
It's very, very encouraging question itself. Actually, we are The system, we have not revamped the system. Too traditional. The reading books and materials and imagination regarding reading, the value of reading, we did a lot. But we could not change this examination system as you have suggested now. Actually, we have to go for a new revolution. Why not measure our students? The teacher can measure the students, his students, her students, looking at the reading performance, classroom performance, or creativity also, not depending on the books. It's great actually. I strongly suggest the committee to make a new departure and change wholly in this evaluation system as well. Especially when you think of this reading for pleasure, reading for recreation, reading for creative writing, reading for wider information. When we do teach these things, our examination also should be changed. I very wholeheartedly appreciate your suggestion, Gunaraj bhai. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
You have so clearly put things so squarely, so convincingly. I am really impressed by your way. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, Balram sir.
Gunar sir,
Balaram sir, I would expect a little more input into this question because I also can see, you write a lot of things about reading and writing. So I hope you will also shed a little more light on my
Your
question.
question will get special attention. Now
yeah.
I have written in my mind and heart also, because it is
Thank,
a time we have to rethink. The if reading system should be made different, evaluation system also needs to be changed, and a departure, a new way as you have suggested,
exactly, sir. Exactly.
will make it
Exactly.
happen. Thank
Yes.
you.
Uh,
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, sir. Kunal sir, I'm absolutely with you. Actually, you took the words out of my mouth. Actually, this is what I always felt. But what I feel is that at least partially these annual system problems can be partially addressed or have been partial has been partially addressed through this assignment system in this what we should have semester. But again, this is what I felt in the classroom also when I wanted my student to go through they I wanted them to explore the text for various purposes, like as I talked about earlier, vocabulary, structures, thought, imagination, something like that, and all things. They they were mainly focused on they were mainly anchored to the examination again, and it was not their fault, as you all said earlier, because we all are as William James said, that human beings are ruthlessly pragmatic creature. We all are pragmatic. Had we been there, we would have done the same, and this is what we did. Only and it is not luxury but necessity for them to go through such things, because this is how they are tested. Now, no, this and again we have to look at this examination system and the university system where the teachers are trusted to teach but are not trusted to test. This is the problem here. When we teach in the classroom, they trust us, because that's why we are given we have been appointed as the teacher. But when the question of testing comes, the system doesn't trust
That's
us.
true, sir.
This is the problem.
That's true. That's true.
And actually this is what I can say, that we should change it. And uh, uh, it was Jairus Sir's time that we could bring out some change. We could see some glimpses of change in the pedagogical sector, and we cannot expect Jairus Sir again to come back to TU and then change this evaluation system. We need to find, and we have to have the we have to voice in unison for that, and we will find another platform as well, I guess. And Guna sir, your question is so thought provoking, and then heart piercing to me, that hope we will find some joint common space, common platform, and then share the problems and bring out some writing. about this
Sure,
issue.
sir.
Actually,
Sure. That's my
it-
pleasure, sir.
Okay, thank you. Now the same question, Jagdish sir.
What I was thinking to, answer, Balaram sir already, spoke about it, So I don't have much to say about it. So in comparison to annual systems, we have assignment system. Still, there is a room to practice this. 40% assignment, you can do practice. So this is the way we can little bit practice. But to change is completely to deconstruct it. We should move. We should run companion, right? Collective effort is required to change it. So the power, the peoples who hold power, they want to, go with the traditional practice. They don't want to change the practice. So for this, we need to do collective practice. Let's go through collectively. Probably we can change in future. Let's hope. But let's practice what is given to us through, internal assignment right now. Yeah. Thank you.
Dear
Yes,
answer.
please.
Namaste to you all my guru and participants. I'm Elvi Bora from Bajang. Well, I like the presentation of three presenters very much, and I appreciate to all of you also. So regarding the reading, my what my thought is that with respect to the rural area, I am being the teacher from the rural area, and I am raising some of the issues about the reading from the rural territory as well. So here, what I experience that most of the students they do not buy the books, even if the in the library in what we call that is the bookshops there are no books. Just as the examination come nearby, they buy the guest paper, guide, or so on. And just 2 3 days before, there are purely mostly the students are irregular also, especially in the where there is the annual system. In semester system like Forest University just has launched the semester system. Their students are regular and then buy somehow books. But in the annual system, most of the students in the rural area, neither most of the students attend in the classroom, nor they buy the books and then read. So how can we teach her here boosted them to read the books, to buy the books? So because of this reason, this is a kind of gap also. So from like you authorities who design the courses, who propose the courses, so how can we tackle such problems in the rural area? So please, Govind Raj sir, can you assist in this very
Thank you, Lal Bahadur Bhai. All the way from which district are you?
Bajang, from Bajang
Yeah,
sir?
that's great. Actually, we are thinking of and planning and speaking with an ideal standard in mind, with kind of world trend in mind.
Hmm.
And it is, we could not bring all the individual problems and exceptions in our mind. All difficulty, it is in our mind as well. I also hail from a very far away, distant hill of the east, I know. But then, we have to speak at least in the beginning what is the ideal thing, what is the ideal situation, most probable ideal situation, and which you cannot reach perhaps because in distant areas it is long way from now in time and space both. So my suggestion is the teacher just he can or she can try only, just try only, because there should be small bookshelf with the teacher himself herself should borrow books or buy books or donate books or convince your students give one or two books, something like that. In small scale you can work hard and you can convince your students, because in my time also, in the high hills of the east, the teachers used to bring some books, one or two books from Darjeeling, the beautiful classics or small children's books from Darjeeling. And they used to give one book to the whole class like that. And that lured me, that inspired me. In my school later in Japa, There was a small school library that inspired us in such a way that made me a writer later on. Therefore, you don't know in which mind will catch fire, which mind will be lit properly, will be enlightened. So you just try because it is difficult. I know you are working in a difficult situation. I know I have
Yeah.
sympathy with you, but we have to speak an ideal situation. That's all. Contact me later on
But
also. If you are
mm,
establishing a library, founding a library, I can donate, I can contribute some books to you. That's all.
so here my query is that, please, sir, in rural area, most of the campuses are community based,
I see.
and they only the campus authority want that as many as students they would come,
Uh-huh.
whether they are regular or irregular.
I
But
see.
even if we try a lot, but how can we make them be regular in the classroom? This is so. If the university propose them for the sake of regularity, any tight and hard and fast rule for that,
Oh,
um, it is possible.
yeah.
But I didn't think I
You,
face very much difficulty
you
here,
are
sir. Yeah.
great fighters, fighting the problem with the problem to settle the problem, and you are feeling, you are experiencing. I think I don't have any reply, but we will see if we can make some small changes in the policy. We will see why that's all.
Thank you. Yeah, yeah.
Thank you. Uh,
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Anything to say, Balram sir?
No, actually, this is what we can say. Try until you die, but don't die. This is what we say.
Okay, Jagdish sir.
I don't have things to say, just we can convince our students, but we cannot do anything for that. This is happens, in life. Don't expect right, perfect. You know, these will change in future. It takes times. There is no hard and fast rule for that. So just be hopeful. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, sir. Now, any other queries, please? Anyone?
Dear sir,
Yes, sir.
uh, I have a small query here.
Please, please, please.
First of all, thank you all the gurus for your insightful ideas on reading culture, and so on. I want to reflect my experience of teaching the text-oriented to reading, especially in bachelor's level. Regarding the course of reading, I also taught the courses at bachelor's level, especially for many years when these new texts were introduced by Tribhuvan University. Uh, the texts are large in number. We have to complete 70, 80 texts in a year, and our classes are disturbed because of various reasons. Uh, Many of the texts are very tough for the students to understand in terms of vocabulary, structures, meaning, contextualization, and so on. And especially to talk about the students of bachelor's level, B.Ed level, many of them are from very poor English background outside Kathmandu Valley, even in some colleges of Kathmandu Valley. So they have very poor English backgrounds. On the other hand, we need to complete the course for the final exam. So students expect every lesson to be explained, to be taught. But there are 70, 80 texts we have to finish. Classes do not run okay as per specified by the syllabus or the course designers. We hardly teach for 150 periods. So in such situation, it's very difficult to achieve the goals. So in such situation, how can we achieve the curricular goals by conducting all the activities of reading, like pre-reading, while reading, reading to develop reading skills, teaching to develop reading skills, writing skills, critical thinking skills, various skills. So my personal opinion is, so wouldn't it be better to reduce the size of the course, to reduce the number of the lessons, so that we can conduct all the activities, almost all the activities of reading, pre-reading, while reading, post-reading, as well as reading, writing, and critical thinking activities, and we can really make the students able to read, to write and think critically, so that our curricular goals can also be achieved. So especially this question is for Balram sir and Poudel sir.
DNG, shall I?
Yes, sir. Yes, please.
Thank you, sir, for a lengthy question. Actually, your question itself is an answer to your, actually you have answered yourself, because what I feel is about the number of texts. This is what when we surveyed some 20 colleges, then most of teachers said the book is voluminous and the texts are lengthy, and then in the second time under Bhattrai sir's editorialship, some lengthy texts were removed and new were added. What I feel is, when it's just for the sake of comparison, when we compare these reading texts with the text and courses from humanities, we are not putting our students under pressure. Actually, had we put that type of pressure at +2 level, they would not have faced this problem at bachelor's level. If we reduce the text like that at the bachelor's level, again they will feel a similar type of pressure at masters, and then without reading some 100 texts, they will go through university degree. That's why we need, rather than changing reducing the number of texts, Bhattrai sir is not against, is not for reducing the number, I'm sure. Rather than reducing the number of the text, we should think of the another way of dealing with that text, how to address this constraint. In when I in my experience of dealing with master's degree course says that first year I had the same problem. Then next year, what I did, first I was fully prepared myself. First I read, I read I realized that the course books were primarily for me as a teacher rather than for my students. First, the the more prepared I was, the better I feel, and the more smoothly the course went. Second year, and second year, and I finished the course almost 15 days before the vacation began. One. Second, we need to, as you are familiar with that, all these approaches, I don't need to reiterate on that. We need to divide the text and then give the assignment to students. And again, we will have the same problem. Students don't come to classroom, and then they are reluctant to take the assignment, read at their home. We all have these problems, and that's why we teachers are there. Otherwise, we will lose our job. If it is not challenging, if everybody can do it, and if they can do on their own, they won't need us. And our job is secure only because our students don't read the way we expect. Otherwise, we might have lost our job. And I always respect my students when they come to classroom without reading. This gives me much value, and then makes me work harder, and then uh, always make me work harder and think the alternative. And I always respect those lazy students. And other things about pedagogy, sorry, if you want to talk later, I have my tentative framework. I can share with you later. I can say this much for now.
Jagdish sir.
Balaram sir highlighted very well regarding these questions, right? I don't in favor of reducing course, right? We should add more. I think, in my experience, I never felt completing the course. You know, bachelor's level, master's level, see the levels, their levels. It's not your fault. They don't have, strong academic background. I agree. But some of the students have background. They come up with, you know, background or strong academic background, even if they are from very poor, financially poor background. For example, some students from Bhattrai, when I was in Janildura, they were from very, very poor family financially, but they were voracious readers, right? Will matters. If a student don't have, they will not read. Even if you reduce the course, the same practice will go there, right? So even if you reduce the course up to 20 texts, And if you ask to teach, if you ask them to read, the same practice will go. I am sure, right? If not all, some of you will practice very well, but I don't think the scenario will change. So I don't in favor of reducing course, because see the international scenario, and it will be injustice for the students, those who have already a good background, those who would like to read more, those who would like to explore. So social justice perspective we should look at. It will be injustice for them. If they go to international market, what will happen? They have very limited readings. So it's not your fault. It takes time to get change. It takes time. So let's, wait. Yeah.
Thank you.
Wow, what a panel discussion. I think this discussion has made a history in the context of Nepal today. And I would like to thank Professor Govind Bhattrai sir, Guru Bal Ram Adhikari sir, and Jagadish Poudel sir from USA. I would like to thank Professor Bhattrai, Mr. Bal Ram Adhikari, and Mr. Jagadish Poudel for being with us and sharing ideas on reading culture. We had a lot hot discussion on this issue. I know the questions that has been raised here are of paramount importance. Possibly, it will create more and more interest among the participants. 257 participants we have here around. So finally, I would like to conclude with the saying that please do not confine your reading to the academic books. Rather, expand the horizon of reading. Read the books, because turning the pages of academic books will not only make you, it cannot make you sufficient. So read other books, enjoy reading, read this much. यति पढ्नुस् कि तपाईले किताब पढेर हैन, हेरेर हैन, सुँगेर बुझ्न सकियोस्. Thank you so much. Have a good day.